So let's say here the there are three different components. First is your app.js. Second is your context A. Third one is context B. Now we have a value in app.js and we want that this context B should use that value. The data will be first going from app.js to context A, then context A will send the data to context B. Let's first do it. So here I will go to app.js and this context A, I'm calling it here. I will call it with the argument. So here I will write username equals to expression name, right? I am calling context A and I am passing the value from parent to child by username, and in expression you are writing curly bracket means value you are using this one. Now in context A we should accept this value first. So let's say here I will accept this value and I am accepting this value, let's say this one. Any variable, by the way, you can write argument. Value is coming as the name format, so you have to accept it in the same format only, right? Now you have accepted the value in context A. So from app.js, I will remove it. Here I will, let me first show it to you in the context A. So context A is rendering context B and it will render one heading also that my name is. If you are writing whatever argument you are accepting, directly I am printing that. And here it is printing that my name is. So this one, my name is coming from B. Here I will write my name is. First let me write here context A in this way, right? So context context A is saying that my name is, it is saying something, right? Arguments is not available, right? Now if I want to use it in a single hierarchy, means variable is declared inside app.js and we need to use this in context A. How it will be getting possible? How you will pass this props in the reverse direction? Yes, how you will use this? If we are accepting this argument directly as an argument in this way, args. So you will see that there are a lot of error that object are not valid as a React child. So it means that you, whenever you are accepting this argument, you have to use it. Now just think one, how you are sending the data. You are trying to send the data as a username. You are trying to set a username. If we want to use here, so can I write in this way?
This meeting is being recorded.
How you will pass this value? Value is written inside app.js and we are accepting this in context A. if I'm directly printing a kind of username in this, so it will say that username is not defined. Means username is not defined. If you are directly printing this argument, whatever argument it is accepting in this way, then it will say that my name is, but it will not print the name. How to pass this value? Now this is a question from my side to you. How to pass the props between multiple labels? Forget about multiple label. This is a single label. You are passing the props from one file to another. Say the answer. Okay, leave it. Here this function is accepting something as args. So do one thing, print it to console. Right? I am printing this to console so that we should get something in our console. So it is saying that this is a object which has something inside it. This props is coming as a object which has something inside it. Now simple thing I am asking, there is one value written in here that const name equals to Shivam. I want to use this value in context A file. Here I am writing this value directly, or if you want to check, let me print it to console. So here you will see that it is getting printed, but it is getting printed from app.js, not from the context A. Means value is working fine. How to pass this props data? Single file. Forget about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 100 files. Doesn't matter. Single file. Okay, here let me declare const user name. Here we have name. So here I will declare const username, and if its value is coming from args, I'm saying in this way, right? Its value will be coming from args dot username. Then we will print this username. Can this method be followed here? This is a object. This argument is a object here. Cannot read properties of undefined username. And this is related to props only. We do these kind of things in props, passing the values from one component to another. We did in props only, right? How we will use this? From app.js, I am declaring that username is equals to name here. Username is equals to name here. What does it mean? It means that context A is having some field as username whose value I am providing here. Whose value I am providing here. There is some field in the context A. Now you are accepting this value as a argument object, or here you can write any other name, username, or any other thing you can write. But how I will print this value here? You want to check it in a different way? Wait. Here I will declare props, right? Let me remove this part. Here I will say that my name is props dot username, right? I will say that my name is props dot username. My name is Shivam. That's it. I'm saying my name is username. So in this way, you are transferring this value. Remember? Remember the concepts or forgot this also? Yesterday also we discussed this. But the problem is here we don't want to use that. We want to use this thing in context B. So I will remove it from here. This also I will remove. How you will use it here? Because if you are writing something like this to props here and then h1 that my name is props dot username, it will not take the value because app.js is giving the values to context A. Either app.js has to give this value to context B. Otherwise, there is a method which will be going in this way. App.js has to give this value to context A, then context A will give that value to context B. Now, if you are trying to do it here in context B, it is giving some arguments. It should accept that first. It should accept that first. Where it will accept? Let's say it is accepting some props value, right? And if I am saying that const username equals to props dot username, or let's write another user value here. So const user equals to props dot username, and this props dot username we are expecting that it is coming from here. And I will write h1. In h1 I will provide users value. So you will see that Shivam is getting printed. Now first you need to initialize the values in context A. Now this context A has a value as user. Now this context A will send this value to context B in any form. Let's say this is also sending username equals to user. Now same thing context B has to do. Same thing. Const username equals to props dot username. Now it can print. So now it is printing my name is Shivam, and this value is coming from context C. So here I will mention context C as well so that we can have a direct username we can print. Direct username we can print. So context C is saying my name is Shivam, and this Shivam value is coming from context app.js. Let's change this value here. Changed. Now tell me one thing. Does this component A need to initialize that value? No. But as the structure of React works, the hierarchy you need to follow. Now let's say you have 5 components inside each other. This is your A component, this is your B, this is C, this is D, and at last this is E. Let's say A is having some value as user, some value, and E wants to use that value. First of all, A will give it to B. B will give it to C will give it to, then D will it give it to E. And as a developer, this sounds very weird. But whenever some libraries or frameworks are coming, generally they comes with lots of these kind of things also. Now in this way, what React did, React gave us a hook. Use context. In that, React said that here one person will be the provider and another one will be the consumer. So React sort out that problem. React sorted out this medium problem, that if A has some value, that will be used by E. So A will be a provider here and E will be a consumer. Now understood? At least problem statement. Now we will try to solve this problem by using the use context hook. Now the use context hook will be let me remove this part as of now, and this is also not there. Now I will assign one value to the app.js and I will use that in context B without initializing that in context A. Generally, there are other methods also that pass, but there same thing you need to do. Here I am using props to drill. This is called drilling. How many of you know what is drill? Drill is actually a tool which is used when you want to make some holes in the walls. That is a drill generally. This is called props drilling. This method is called props drilling. Means you have 5 files. One will give to second, second to third, third to fourth, fourth to fifth. This is called props drilling. There are other methods also to pass the values from one component to another, but they will also follow this hierarchy only. First one will give to second, second to third, third to fourth. So React in its version 16.8 comes with a solution that you can declare some sort of use context and it will solve that problem. Is there any problem if we are using this method? Yes, of course. Let's say you have 100 files. In 100 files, your value is written in first, you want to use it in 100th. Means you unnecessarily you have to define it 98 times in between, which will be increasing the size of your application and speed will be slow. That is why React comes with a solution of use context. Now first thing is, in the step 1, what you need to do is creating the use context. If you want to use any hook, first we need to create them, right? Use state, use effect, same way you need to create it. I am saying that const user name equals to create context. First thing, here I said that const username equals to, and we will follow the camel casing. Username dot create context, right? Create context. In the first, you need to create it. In the second way, you need to tell that who can use this or who will use this context. In the second way, you need to tell that who will use it. Now, if I am saying that A will use it and A has B inside, so technically B will also use it. Or directly, if I am assigning that context A will use it, it means A also can use and B also can use. How to do that? So for that, in the second step, in the step 2, wrap all the childs, wrap all the childs who will you those who will use the context. How to do that? So for that, I will come to my JSX, and first thing I will write the context that you have created. So which context we have created? User name. Here we have created a constructor as username. Here I will write username dot provider. Username dot provider. Wrap all the child, those who will use the context inside the provider. So context a child, that's it. I have said to the context that child A can use you. Child A will use you. And child A is having a child B. So technically B will also use this. If B has C, C has D, D has F, till Z they are having, Z can also use. The condition is they should be rendering inside each other. Now, in the third step, step 3, assign the value that you want to transfer. Means whatever value you want to transfer, assign that value. For that, at first we should have a value. So here I will create a value const name equals to Shivam, or let's create a state here generally, because variable we don't use like this way. So name, set name, use state, and by default value I will write as Shivam. Username dot provider, here I will write a attribute that value equals to name. What value it is transferring? What value it is transferring? Name value, right? It is transferring the name value. Let's first try to use it inside A only, right? For that, first thing I will do it, I will comment, okay, I will remove context B. Means I am rendering context A only directly. How to use it now? For using it in the last step, in the fourth step, use the context in the child component. That's it. How to use it now? So in context A, I will go. I will create one name here that say const data equals to, it will use something. It is using a context. I am saying that I have declared a variable const data which will use context, which will use the context. Which context? So in app.js, we have created a context by name as username, right? So context A should be having a knowledge that in app.js, there is a context whose name is username. For that, at first, this file should export it. So here I will write export, and this is not a component. So I will wrap it in brackets user name. Now this app.js is exporting that context that I am exporting. You can use it. In context A, I will import it. So I will import user name from app, and const data equals to use context. Here, which context it has to use? Username context. Now we are expecting that all the values are coming inside this data variable. For that, let's render a h1. First check the app. Nothing is coming on the app because values were written inside B, and now we are not rendering the B. So the value from A will go this time, right? Coming. Let's write here a paragraph. First I will write context A colon my name is. If I am writing this data directly, my name is visible. Now in this way we are using it in app.js, which is a direct context A, which is a direct child. Last time also it was easy, but problem was when we were using these things in context B. For that we have to import these things in A also, and A don't need this thing. So I will remove from A. This also I will remove because our target is to use these things in B. It will export the B only. If you want to use some context here, first you need to import from the file which is exporting the context. So here I will import username from app. And why I am able to import it like this way? Because app is exporting this property or hook, you can say. Now same thing you need to do here in the function. You can declare a value that const data, from where its value will be coming. It will try to use the context. Use context. Which context it will use? Username context. Now values are written inside a data. So here I will say that context C is saying my name is data, and data I will provide as a expression. So context C is saying my name is Shivam, and the surprising part, this time context A is not doing anything. We are able to pass our value directly to the grandchildren, right? Okay, this is about a simple value. What if we have an object? This is just a normal value. We can have object also. So here I will create a object name. Let's say name is Shivam. Profile, let's say trainer. Okay, let's say it is having two fields, name and profile. Same thing. Here you have to export name. Context B will use this data, and if you are printing data directly, so it will come in this way. Now as this data is expected to be a object, this data is expected to be a object. Let me remove this part. Why I am saying that this is object? Let's print it to console. So console.log data. It is printing a object. In object, name and profile, two things are coming. So it means that if we want to use this part, how we will be using? As a object only. So data dot name. My name is data dot name, and I am a data dot profile, right? This is the use of use context hook. What it has eliminated? It has eliminated all the middleware steps that were unnecessarily. Was there any need of using those? No. When our case is simple, app.js is having one file that B wants to use, directly give it to B. But earlier we have to pass that value through A, then A will send to B, because you are having a hierarchy. Now, if your hierarchy is in this way, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, or whatever hierarchy you are having, it will follow the same condition that if a value is written here and last one wants to use it, value will flow in this way only. And all of these will unnecessarily initialize that value, right? They don't even want. The case is different. If these component want that value, then it is fine. They don't even want that value, then also they are forced to use that value because they have to pass this value to their children's, and that is definitely not a good practice. That is why in 16.8 version of React they introduced context hook also. Not all the hooks were introduced in 16.8, right? We call it as context API also because data is getting fetched, right? We call it as context API also, or simple context hook. So this context hook was also introduced in React 16.8. I hope you understood it now. Understood? How many days it will stay here? Huh? For how many days it will stay in your brain? Till tomorrow? See, keep practicing, guys. I know that whenever you are switching from JavaScript to React, things seems hard. And whenever you will switch from Java to Spring or Spring Boot, things will seem hard, right? So whenever you switch from core Java to advanced Java, things will feel hard. But they are not hard. They are just different, right? Whenever you are changing the state that you are currently floating, there will be lot of changes, right? Even when you are changing your location, there will be a lot of changes in food, culture, environment. A lot of things will be changed. So accept that change and keep practicing until you become familiar to that, right? We can learn anything in one day, but it requires perseverance, continuous perseverance, to be a master in that field, right? Keep practicing. Understood this context hook? Finally, what it will do, it will eliminate the unnecessary, or it will eliminate the unusual use of values in the middle components of the hierarchy when they don't want to use the value. Now how you will do it? So in the first very step, what we need to do, initialize the context, or basically create the context. Creating the context. So how we will create the context? For that, let me remove these steps. You need to create the context out of the function body. Don't create it inside a function, because this is a global statement that you need to export. That you need to export. I will paste the source code also. So in step 1, I will show you that I will highlight that line only in the code here. So this is how you are creating the context. In this step 2, what we did, wrapping the childs inside the provider of context with by passing them with a value. Same code I will copy paste, but this time this was the part that here you are saying that context A can use my value, and we know that context A is having context B inside it, so context B also can use it. Now I will show you one more thing here. If I am saying that context A is not having context B inside this, context A is not having context B inside this, and if I am trying to check the app, nothing is there. For that, let me render the context B also. But I will remove it because it will not satisfy the condition. Now we are rendering context B directly in our app, which will say lot of errors. Why? Because now context B don't know what is this, because provider is providing the values to context A, and context A is not giving those values to context B, right? So that's how we will doing the things. In the third step, initialize or use the values in the child component by use context. By use context. First, we need to import the username, then declaring the values, and then using them. Step 4. Make sure that there is a component named as context A, which is rendering context B. And that's how we are done with the use context hook. Okay. This was the kind of toughest one, effect and context. If you don't know the problem statement, each one will feels like toughest. Now let's discuss about use ref. So technically this is use reference. Sai, talk to your friend that how much bond they are asking for 1.8 LPA. First thing, they are not offering too much that you should sign a bond, right? Don't sign any bond below 5 lakhs. 2 years bond for 1.8 LPA. No, I think you should not go with it. Don't sign any bond till 5 or 6. Or technically, don't sign any bond, right? Generally, they can't do anything even if you are signing a bond, right? They can only take the money back from you that they have spent on your trainings. Let's say if a company provided you training for 3 months, in that they have spent some, they gave you some courses, they gave you some internet, they can take that from back from you when you are resigning, right? It happens. When I resigned from G, I was having a contract for 1 year, but I resigned before that, so I have to pay back them. But that amount was TCS also. Yes, I paid to TCS also, right? In TCS also, if you are resigning from 6 months, some gets a pay band. Like you can resign after 6 months, 1 year, and I resigned in third month only from TCS. No work was there. I was feeling bored. So they said that you have to pay 2 months salary. I said, now I will not give. Then something middle way we chose. It happens, right? For me, it's very simple. If I am feeling bored, I will leave. Doesn't matter whether it is job, place, person, whatever. 2 year bond for this package, I think it's not a good deal to go. Rest is his choice. Use ref. This one is not too much hard, but if you don't know the problem statement, it will also become hard only. Use ref. Let's remove all these things and I will create a new component as use ref.js. An app will render use ref. For that we need to import use ref. Let's name it something else because same name is of the hook also where it went. Ref.js. Simple. Now app.js is rendering ref.js and let's create a functional component which is rendering ref. So ref is coming here, means it is working fine. Why we are using useref is we know one thing, that if your value is written as a normal value, it will not render the UI. Let me show you how. So here I will say that const count equals to 0. Const count equals to 0. And here I will render in it in h1 that count colon count, right? So here count is coming as 0. And if we are writing a button that increase, attaching some function here, let's say add or increase value, then declaring that function. What I want, whenever this button is getting clicked, increase the value of count by 1. That's what I want. We have declared it with const, so let's declare it with let. It is not getting increase. Can we print it to the console? So I will write console count. So let me remove previous messages. Now console is clear. Here console.log 1, but here it is 0. Now if I am writing it again, what console will print? 1. Why? Console is printing 2, but here in the UI value is still 0. So we solved this problem by using use state, because UI is not getting re-render. UI is not getting re-render. How we know that UI is not getting re-rendered? For that, let's write attach some here, console.log UI re-rendered. If I am increasing the counter value is 1. UI didn't got re-rendered. Click anytime you want. It will increase the counter value, but UI is not getting re-rendered. That is why this value is not getting updated. For that, we had something called use state. Right? We already solved this problem. For that, what we did is we created a state of count. Then we written the set count, and using the use state hook here, and said that initial value is 0. Here in this function we will call set count, and what it will do, increasing the value of count by 1. Now again we will do the same thing. Go to console. I will remove previous messages, refresh. So in the when I refreshed, UI is getting rendered. Definitely counter value is updating to 1 because UI is getting re-rendered. Now tell me one thing. If I am declaring one variable now UI is also getting re-rendered. For that I will write a persistent value, means without using any state. So I have declared let user equals to 1. Let user equals to 1. After this h1 I am declaring that also, that clicks equals to, here I will render the value of user. By default both are 0 only. By default both are 0 only. So count is 1. Now both are 0. Now we know that use state will re-render the UI. So check UI re-rendered, but click is again 0, because by default value is 0 only. If we are changing the value of user also, here we are changing the value of count. For user also I will write user equals to user plus 1 or user plus plus, because this is a normal variable. Refresh. Both are 0 0. UI re-rendered, click is again 0 0 0 0 0. Now if I am printing the values to console after increasing the values of user, if I am printing the values to console, let's check, removing everything first. 1. 1 is the value of user. What will be the next value? 2. Last time, like last time? No. This time also value will be 1 only. Understand the flow. Whenever this huge state part means set count part is running, it will re-render the UI, and when UI is getting re-rendered, so it will render the entire part, which will set the user's value to 0 again, right? And here you are increasing the value by 1, so 1 will be printing every time. This is what you mean? UI is getting re-rendered again, so entire thing will be getting re-rendered. So this user will also be set to 0. And when user is getting set to 0, user plus plus will be equals to 1. That is why this particular part is showing 1 every time. Now, if there is a method, yes, there is a method, and this method is done by use reference hook. This method is done by use reference hook. For that, I will write use reference, and directly I will write the values as 0. First thing, use ref will be automatically getting imported, or if not getting imported, you can import it using curly brackets. How to update the value? So here it will be getting updated by a different method, and that method is user dot current. Is current value of user equals to user dot current plus 1. Just add dot current, otherwise it will be user equals to user plus 1. And let's check where which one? User dot current. So now count is 0, clicks is 0. Count is 1, click is 1. Count is 2, click is 2. Right? Now this use reference is making sure that I will not be getting set to 0 again. Now set count will render the UI again. So console.log printed, this part executed. When compiler is coming to this part, so use reference will say that I am already having reference from my initial state. I will not get re-render. So it will not set the values to 0 again. It will hold its current value. Anything you have to use current here. User dot current. Whatever variable name dot current. Even if it is a string value, current. Right? That was use ref hook. I think this is very easy to understand. What it will do? It will not set the, or it will be helpful to re-render the persistent variables. Persistent means those who want to change their values on re-render. If you are directly saying that let user equals to 0, so whenever UI is getting re-rendered, user will again be set to 0. But that's what we don't want, so that we can wrap it inside a use ref hook, and this was also introduced in 16.8. Now I am giving you a simple task not related to coding. You have to search how many hooks were introduced in React 19. Latest version is 19, right? So you have to understand that how many hooks are introduced in React 19 and what is their name. Question clear? So let's quickly write the things about use ref. Understood? If you have any question, just let me know. So what it will do, that this hook will allow to secure the previous value of a persistent variable whenever UI is getting re-rendered. It will save its previous value until you are refreshing the session. Once you refresh the session, everything is lost. But whenever UI is getting re-rendered, it will not set the values back to 0. So in this case, whatever you can write 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5. Once you refresh, after that both will set to 0. Now it's fine because we are itself refreshing the session. Okay. So same code I will give. And if you have any doubt in this, so tomorrow also we'll discuss, and tomorrow we will close all the hooks. Just condition, you should be having knowledge that how many new hooks are introduced in React 19, right? I'm not asking you to how to use them, how to write their code, just their name. What is the okay, this is also a good question, that what is the difference between use state and use ref, because both are doing the same thing, right? Both are doing the same thing. See, for that I will show you one thing. Use state is having a inbuilt function to re-render the UI. To re-render the UI. But use reference don't have any function like this. Wanna check? Here I am not setting the value of set count. I am just changing the value of user current. If I am not using use state, the UI will not be getting re-rendered. Refresh. Now value is getting updated, that current value is 1, current value is 2, but UI is not getting re-rendered. So the difference in use state and use ref is this: use state has a inbuilt function to re-render the UI whenever some state is changing, but use ref will not be re-rendering the UI whenever its values are changing. It will save their values while UI is getting re-rendered, but it will not be re-rendering the UI. Understood? Or if you have any doubt, tomorrow we will have a quick revision of this. But things are very clear. Set count method, this will be re-rendering the UI, but use ref will not re-render. It will just save the values, right? It will just save the values. And how to use its values, you have to mention dot current. Current stands for this current value. We have one more thing here, that is called dot focus. User dot current dot focus. We will discuss it tomorrow. We are running out of time, right? So tomorrow we'll discuss this, and how many hooks are left: memo, callback, layout, and debug. And out of these, you need to find how many new hooks are added in React 19, right? Pack up. Fine, guys, let's connect again tomorrow. Bye bye, take care, and keep practicing. At least practice context and use ref. At least copy paste the same code that I gave you in notes so that you can actually understand how things are working, right? Bye, guys, let's connect again tomorrow.